Hello, hello. Okay, back again. Welcome to part 4 of the ClockWorld game audio series. This time in this video, we're going to be looking at the composition for the music theme for level 1. And this is the song that got this whole project started for me. It was the first one that I did that kind of set the theme and got everything rolling. So yeah, I'm just gonna pretty much jump right into it like we did the last one. Real quick, this is only going to be relevant this week, and then after this week is over, this will be a legacy part of the video, I guess. But the Cobra and the Lotus album that I helped co-write and perform on Evolution that came out last year is up for a Juno this year, which is like the Canadian Grammys, and it was postponed because of the whole coronavirus thing. And I think they're doing the live stream next Monday to finally announce to see who won. So fingers crossed for that. Best luck to everyone out there. I wish the best for our team that made it happen. I think could be really cool. But we'll see. Anyways, let's jump right into the session and get going with level 1. So I think like last time, I will probably just play the track first, and then we can dig into all the elements that are going on. This is probably the busiest track in terms of stuff going on, or length at least. This one, is, well, I don't know. I'll just stop talking, actually, because it doesn't fucking matter, and hit play. So we'll do level 1 music, and then I'll jump into what's happening and how it came to be. So here we go. Cool. And that's where it would loop. Didn't have loop on. Let's turn loop on. Command L. There it is. Okay, so this track is epic. I love it. I remember how this one got going because I remember just setting the stage with this first clock sound that I had going here, which are these guys, and this is just a duplicate of the same sound, and the second one is all distorted and messed up, so the sound is like this. And this section here, where it says 1 all the way to A up here, is it has a filter on it that's going to be starting with the high end cut off and letting out, so you'll hear that. Right? Drop out. And without the distorted version of the clock. It's just that, right? And then that's the copy. I'll turn it up. Nasty, right? It's awesome. So that's in there tucked in, you know, quite low beneath the first one, but adding distortion to these kinds of tracks, or anything really, and then feeding it back in underneath the original is just always a cool way of adding texture to a sound. And you can be really aggressive with it, you know, and then feed it back in. So I remember starting with this sound, and then what I did was I got, if you recall, I think in the very first video I talked about level one was supposed to be sort of in our imaginations, sort of kind of time travel back to the Renaissance where the first grandfather clock was invented in the 1600s. So in my mind, um, palette wise with instrument, I was thinking, you know, that's sort of where the whole like classical orchestra sounds came from, because I didn't have to use orchestra in this project at all, but I chose to because it's A, it's awesome and a lot of fun. But B, 1600s, I was thinking of the sound palette. I was thinking like harpsichords and strings, and you know, so that's where I kind of got my start here. And what I did was I pulled up a sound, and I kind of just recreated it here because a lot of this is printed in this contact. But in this contact, I basically just have a mix of pizzicato strings, Bartok pizzicato strings, which are like snappier, and a harpsichord all in one. So if I were to solo with the clocks, it's that, right? And I basically I just started I started looping these clocks, and I started playing stuff until I came up with the first sort of piece of bed chords, which ended up being something like this. So I would have the clocks rolling in, lower, right? You know, you get the point. This is basically that. So I think if I pull up my harpsichord here, I'll have that. There it starts coming in. Then I have my pizzicato strings down here. Yeah. Right? So I basically put that in first, and then once I had that, I started searching for a melody for it, and I have it here in the solo strings, but probably I think I did everything honestly on just harpsichords at first because I just wanted to get the composition out. So it would have been something like this. Yeah, this guy right here, which I later doubled with the synthesizer. Right, and once I had that melody, it all just sort of took off from there. So this next section, you know, I was like, oh, the chords need to change, the melody needs a part B to it. As you can see, I have labeled A and B, right, and then it does A and B again, and then we have a part C, and then a C prime, which is just like a second half to the part C before it loops. So let's explore some of the stuff happening here in this part A. So we have this melody happening, right? I brought in a solo string section to double that up. Right, so holy, that's not what I wanted. Just bring these all in to be equal height. There we go. So like a cello, right? I don't need a bass for this. There we go. cello, viola, violin, octave up, double violin. Right? So we have the melody and the chord base happening already. And then what I did was I took more harps and I started adding all these counterpart melodies, counter melodies, which is really what gave me that sort of like 1600s classical Bartok. I don't actually know if the not Bartok, Baroque. I can't remember if that's probably not the right era for Baroque, so please don't quote me on that. I'm just using that as a you know, generalized thing. But so here, listen. Part A is the main melody. Part B is where all the counter melodies come in. So you'll hear this. Oh, there's another one here. And I have that harp doubled with a synthesizer as well. So like this. Let's see, I always bring up these. My lead, my Avicii phase mod. This is not an actual Avicii patch. I made this. Just kind of building something that reminded me of, you know, one of his sounds, and it's a square wave from my Prophet that I sampled, another saw. The square is a single, and then the saw is a super saw. It's 16, you can see, and then detuned a little bit. I love this sound. I made it for a track I was doing a while back, and I saved it and kept it because it's just such a cool like. Why Avicii is because he used to, you can hear on his tracks a lot, having this LFO modulating the phase here. If I were to, I'll turn my sustain up so you can just hear it. You can see this going crazy here, and so I have this set at what, 9.5 hertz. If I really exaggerate this. And that's just a cool lead, like. Yeah, it instantly gives me that vibe, so I love it, and I save it, and I use it all over the place. Um, so that's in there, and yeah, so that's sort of that set the ball rolling for everything else that's happening. So with all of these keys happening and all of these strings happening for this part here. So when this part B hits, I wanted a little more weight, a little more stuff happening. What do we have? Sustained strings come in the second time this happens. So the A and B repeat as A2 and B2, and in typical fashion, A2 and B2 probably just get stacked with a few more instruments. A good example is here. On the B2, you have the sustained string section come in underneath. Sounds like this. Right, and I do have guitars in this one, both under B1 and B2, and you can see the automation is a little crazy, like these strings, those sustained strings. This is just volume. I probably just did this with my mouse to get a little more dynamics out of those, make them sound a little more lively. And then guitar pad. These are chords under B here. I'll solo them. And you can see there's quite a few effects happening on here. if I turn this rack off, you hear these are like really just chords, right? Like right? And so what all these effects are doing, namely, it's this auto filter. You know, go to town a little bit. So first EQ, just cut off the low lows and the high highs. Slight shelf at 2.5K minus 1.5 dB. A little bit of chorus, a little bit of flanger. Another EQ that's almost the same as the first, and I probably would have done that just to kind of kick off any extra harmonics that were generated by this chorus and the flanger effects. And then the auto filter is doing the heavy lifting here. And I use this PRD setting down here. Another shout out to Ill Gates and Producer Dojo folks for that tip. This auto filter comes default with this clean filter setting. The PRD is a little more badass. It kind of is more has a bit of an analog kind of vibe to the filters, kind of like the Moogs and stuff. So you'll see that this frequency here is automated. That's just what appeared in this window here. So this is the frequency just swooping up on these guitars, and you can watch this here if I hit play on it. And that's what gives those that opening up kind of swelling vibe. And you know, if I combine those with the sustained strings as well. Yeah, makes sense. Starting to get somewhere. Now, so in the percussion, we have those clock sounds going. A few more clock sounds joining the ranks over here. If we listen to the full like clock rack thing happening by the time we get to part B. Yeah, A2, this windy thing joins in. I love that. I think that's so cool. Yep. As far as the other percussion, in the first parts, we have bass drums, some taikos. Probably not doing a lot. Yeah, well, it's doing something. Bang. Right. Part B. Oops. Getting tuned to this, right? And then by the time part 2 kicks, parts A2 and B kick around. Yeah, dun 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 bum bum. So I'm using once again that stack of all those melodic percussive elements to go dun 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 dun, and it gives the whole track this like, it's got motion, you know, adding all these things. And then the triangle, my favorite, obviously. And there was that fill, that da 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 on one of these. Listen to that again. That's on the glockenspiel. Yeah, awesome. On the Celesta as well. So the marimbas and xylophones are doing these. Yeah, and that, you know, if I play that part in full, it's really got a lot of motion happening. Epic. Let us not forget. Let's go up here to the woodwinds and the brass. So off the top, we have the flutes and the oboes. I think they're honestly just doubling up what the strings are doing. In B, we have the oboes and the bass clarinet join in. Oh, oh, oh. And then for the second half, piccolos, clarinets, bassoons, all. Yeah, I really loved, I really loved this bassoon part. This one, it's on a contra bassoon. It comes in for this one line and is never seen again, but it's so good. Just, it's shouldn't say never seen again. It goes, this is also contra bassoon, and it's just a staccato, and it's just keeping the rhythm up, 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 right? Up, 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 up. So I'm using the woodwinds to reinforce the melody, and the chords and the rhythm. It's doing it all, man. It's doing it all. Lots of useful stuff happening in there. And then the brass. Let's see. In the first, in A, we just have, looks like some tubas and some contra tubas. I'll leave those woodwinds in for context. Yeah. Up. So accenting those blow brass instruments come in and start adding some weight. That's some of the first kind of lower bass stuff that starts coming in, right? Love that. Trumpets. Yeah, so in this part B, when everything picks up, we have trumpets coming in with these horns. That's the trumpet part, horns. Uh, uh, just tear my fucking heart out. I said I love horns. I really mean it. Beautiful. I'll just put in all the brass. Listen to from. Okay, so all those percussive, those melodic percussive parts I was showing before, the bum 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 bum. We have that going on, I think, on the trombones, which is awesome. Tenor trombones too, probably. Yep, octave lower. Tubas. Contra tuba, probably, just stacking that tuba low. Awesome. Like, how fun is that? That's some just cool counterpoint, counter melody stuff happening to what, compared to what everything else is going on. And it's quite playful, and I think a lot of this track for me, I wanted it to be playful, and I think it is. It's faster. Well, it's 79 BPM, but everything it's kind of double time, so it's more like 158 in my mind. And yeah, playful. All the instruments are playing against each other. It's very whimsical, and for me, it was just perfect. It's a good pace to get you going in the game, and the guys liked it right away, which is awesome for me because this was the first thing I showed anybody. I'm like, is this gonna work? And everyone's like, oh, dude, this is great. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm on the right track. Life is good, and kept working. So, as far as processing. Uh, This one, every single one of these instruments has like some EQ and a compressor on it. And you can see in these woodwinds, for the flutes, I'm taking up the low end. I'm accentuating the air on a lot of them. You can see as I'm going down. And this is just general tone shaping, general cleaning up, way more than I did in the last tracks because there's way more happening in this track. So I really had to put a little bit more effort into creating the right textures and spaces for everything beyond what's coming out of the box, out of the contact. So yeah, just EQ and compression on all the brass and woodwinds, and on my brass and woodwind, actually probably on all of my subgroups. I'm having a compressor, a glue compressor, the OTT setting from the multiband dynamics, and then taking out the ultra lows. And the OTT setting, I think, is probably giving a lot of life. I like it to just, make things a little more lively. If I take that off, it's subtle, but it's significant, and I put it on all of them. You can see I've only put in 15% on the dry wet, so subtle on purpose here to 12%. If I were to really accentuate this, it sounds good on its own, but I think if that was 100% on everything, it would be too much. So back down to 15-ish, 12% for you. So that's most of the stuff happening in parts A and B. I think I missed these guitar pulse. These are just chugs on the upbeats. Bump, 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 right? And I think I'm just emphasizing with some heavy guitar sounds. Yeah, they're on the upbeats and LFO Tool to get that pulsing happening. Without the LFO Tool, it's just gonna be like chugging on a guitar, super basic. Right? And then the LFO Tool set is gonna just be really all the way steep volume shaper every eighth note, and that gives you that pumping effect. Right? So, all in there, all enough. Sound effects. What do we got going on right off the top here? Big bell for the clock theme, getting it going. We have some risers. You're gonna hear this all just swooping. Right? Just some noise swooshes and good things of that nature to ramp the energy up. And yeah, that is a speedy way through, I believe, all the stuff happening in parts A and B. Did I cover it in enough detail? I think so. It's this horn solo here. Just accenting that first little bit there. Hear those guitars loud. Forgot to turn the filter back on those guitars. So yeah, that's all the good stuff. And then we swoop into part C, and in part C, if I remember correctly, I actually lower the tempo. Yeah, it goes down from 79 down to 61, so everything just takes a fucking halt. guitars were too loud. Come back there. Yeah. Beautiful. So percussion here, we have a clock sound with some big reverb on it, bass drum, timpani, and some chimes, but importantly this pulse, I've called it. And this is without the pulse in. This is just the clocks and a big reverb. And with the pulse in too. Yeah. So the pulse is kind of this like heartbeat sound that's happening. And I just made it using a kick drum. I think, yeah, like I'm gonna just quickly group all this effects together, take it off, and if you just listen to it by itself, think, yeah. It's just a big old kick drum with reverb. Yeah, it's being sent right here. That reverb that you're hearing now is because send number 3, C is up at -10, and send number 3. My sends in this track are different than the last two I showed you, because this one I have a room verb on A, a chamber, and a hall on C. So that's going to this hall here. If I turn that off, it's just it's a kick drum. I'm sending it to this hall. So bang, nice big hall. And then all of this other good stuff. If we go one at a time. So first thing is just filtering off all the high end off of this kick, and I'm basically keeping below 100 hertz. So it's just now just a chest thump, you know. If you're on laptop speakers or not, you know, it's something you might not hear that. Headphones. Maybe you do. This drum bus plugin from Ableton is fucking awesome. I love it. Adding some drive, some crunch, a little bit of boom, 50 hertz, medium, upping the transients, just a little more smack on that first hit. Yeah, and then echo, I'm doing feedback set to 0 because I want one singular echo. I want bang bang, bang bang. I don't want it to keep trailing over because that would just get fucking muddy fast. And I set it to time, and I found at 389 milliseconds, I just found this to be the correct time that felt right. So when you put this in, yes. I'm sending this to a hall, but I'm also putting reverb on, and of course I left it in eco mode because it sounds better. No, it doesn't at all. That's probably a mistake. It should be on high. 2.5 seconds. Yeah. Just putting it further back. I don't want it up close. I wanted it kind of in the background. Utility is doing... Oh, I have some gain automation just at the end here to bring it down so it's clean on the loop. That's all that's doing. And then this EQ, just more juice around 100 hertz and 170, 86 and 170 to be more precise. And that gives us the pulse that's happening. And now, like I showed in the hub world where I had a lot of tracks sent to this compression, sidechain compression group, and it was ducking away from the kick and the snare in the last track. In this track, I have everything ducking away from this pulse. So when the pulse hits, everything sucks behind it, you know? And yeah, you can see here I have sidechain enabled and the audio from the pulse track, or the puzzle, because apparently I can't spell. Pulse. There we go. So once all the percussion enabled again for part C, we have this big epic thing happening. Yes. Underneath that, keys, harpsichord, chords. So pretty. Chimes. Ah. Tear my fucking heart out. I love it. It's very nice. Tam tam. It's like a big gong drum, you know? Okay, beauty. I have some choirs in this one. 2 solo girls and a full choir. I'll add them in one at a time. The second one, it's an octave up. That one there, yeah. Full choir. It starts coming in here. And then this last choir here just comes in at this part C prime here. It's gonna stop, and then full epic, like. That's. Break. They'll come right back in. Very epic. Very, very epic. So I see some brass. There's just this horn that goes into that part. Right, and then horns in the second half here. Pretty quiet, this first one. Let's see when this guy comes in. Yeah, just playing some harmony with everything else that's going on. So let's see, I'll keep my brass enabled, I'll keep all my percussion enabled, we can keep the pulse enabled, it's on its own send. We'll put all the keys in now. And strings are really the last thing. Yeah, we have these Hans Zimmer strings. I think that's not really nice. And then the cello, the solo cello that comes in that really is playing a lot of melody, right? And then we have a little bit of sustain strings at the end. But let's hear it with the strings in. These are quiet. Oh, of course, need my strings. There they are. One droning note on the top there, just to keep some tension. Cellos here now. And then now these strings are climbing. Up, just up, keep going up. Yeah, so these like Zimmer strings here, they drone for this whole part, and then they're climbing up, just pitch, 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 to just keep bringing that tension up until the end. We have these sustain strings that come in right at the end here. Yep. And that's just a bass, a cello, and a viola. And I have this little synthesizer arpeggio thing coming in right at the end because I wanted to hint towards the level 2 music, which was going to be like far future technically. So I knew I was going to go with synthesizers. And I had like Tron music in mind, sort of as a reference. And so I had this sort of that just creeps in right at the end to help tie in level 2, which I'll do on the next video. And then apart from that, you know, there's going to be a big bang and a big swoosh going into this part. Yeah, on the effects, right? Like some kind of... Oh, and this guy. Which I can see is a Cashmere drop sound. Awesome. And then I fucked this up. This doesn't... Yeah, I think I hit this X2 button where you can make things long and crazy. That's too much, right? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And so that whole thing with everything in on part C gives you this big epic denouement, or whatever the hell you want to call it. Those bells are the clock. It's coming from here. It's 1 o'clock sound. You hear this arpeggio creep in? Yeah, and then it loops. Yeah, yay. This one's coming in under 45 minutes-ish. Let's do something about that. No, I mean, you know, master... my returns, you know, I mentioned everything. I have a couple reverbs sent to the compressor, then everything goes to the master. It's the same kind of treatment as before, just a little bit of compression, a little limiting. I'm using this drop rack. Once again, Ilgate's Producer Dojo, got this from those guys. Really useful rack that I automate on the master bus here. And what this does is when this macro gets lit up, you'll see this EQ take out the low end, take out the high end a bit. So it's good for drop sections or when you want to like kill the energy a bit before another big section comes in a really just nice natural way. And you can see I've put that in here. So when this C kicks in, part C kicks in, this drop rack starts engaging, so that EQ sort of swoops in slowly, ducks it out at its most extreme here, so that when the second half of part C comes in, where it gets really epic, where the big men's choir comes in and everything, it's back at full frequency spectrum, right? So if you watch this EQ here, just slowly those filters are starting to squeeze in. Just a little bit of high end, a little bit of low end taken away. It's subtle, but it has an effect on the psychology, you know? And more than anything, when this next part comes in, that swell is gonna feel all that much bigger. Watch. Barely doing anything with this compressor. Kissing the needle. Just really kissing the limiter too, not doing much with it. And you know, the gain staging for something like this is totally different than like if I was mixing a rock or metal or pop thing where the drums are slamming and they're like the loudest thing in the mix. You know, the limiter is gonna, the gain staging will be set up so every kick drum you'd probably see that limiter, you know. Just touch it, just a touch, maybe. Not the case with this kind of music. I'm just kind of keeping things at bay in a very minute way. But guys, that's level one. That's the level one theme. I got everything rolling for this project after level one came together. The rest of the music was a lot easier for me to do, having this as a bass, using the clock racks, you know, like I did here and I've explained before. So that's it, guys. Yep. Nothing more to say on this one. Hope someone out there enjoys this, and I'll see you on the next one for the level 2 theme. Ooh, and really quickly, this is just a quick ad at the very end. I forgot I wanted to say, or really just quote the t-shirt that I'm wearing. We are not alone, just lonely. The human condition, friends. I got this shirt visiting the Johnston Space Center, NASA, a little while ago, and I like it. All right, that's it for real. See you later, guys.